Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to the show. I'm using the Boss Katana Mark II this week to try and dial in that awesome tone of Def Leppard. It's just that iconic tone that's the Rockman X100, which was that small little headphone Walkman unit that you plugged your guitar into. It ran off 8 AA batteries, and it just had that iconic tone that was renowned for Def Leppard, and they used it to record Hysteria and other albums in the studio. And the fact that it's just so difficult to try and replicate to this day with today's technology just blows my mind. So I did some research and just asked around with some gurus and tried to work out if there's anything that can just absolutely replicate that tone down to the full detail. And there are things that come close, and the Rockman product was bought out by Dunlop, and they came out with the Guitar Ace, which is similar, but it just doesn't have that whole delay and reverb and chorus on the top. And that's really what makes that Def Leppard tone. It's not the actual distortion, but it's all the other things on the top that just seem to run it in a complete package. I don't know what it is, whether it's just made from materials that are just hazardous to health or hard to make. I don't know, but turns out nothing can replicate that tone apart from those old circuits and transistors. So I thought I'd have an attempt with the Boss Katana, and it was way harder than I ever thought it was going to be. I just couldn't hone in on that right style of distortion. It's not a full grainy, gritty distortion like a Marshall or a 5150. It's just a real 80s style, like a transistor sounding distortion. And the closest way I got that with the Boss Katana was through the clean channel and using the wrap distortion pedal in that. For some reason, that one just came closest out of the whole arsenal that they had. And then I'm running the chorus in the front end as well as a compression in the modulation that's also in the front end when you do the chain. So you really need the reverb, delay, the chorus, the compression, as well as that distortion just to work together and really give you that tight sort of Leopard tone that they can build upon. And so in the input EQ there, this is actually a really powerful EQ, that graphic EQ on the input. And this really causes the amp to behave in a way that I'm trying to emulate a small solid state distortion circuit. So with the input EQ there, we're just matching the guitar to go into the amp to try and keep that solid state sort of tone without getting too big, full and rounded in those lower mids and things. So I've scooped those out. And then on the output EQ there, we're using the parametric, and around the 800k there, I've just sucked out a little tiny bit of those mids. Now we've beefed up the bottom, but at the same time I've just brought in those shelves to try and get that cheap solid state sort of tone that they wouldn't have captured the whole spectrum on those units. You cut off a lot of the highs and you cut off a lot of the lows, and you're just left with that sort of mid-focus guitar tone. And to me, that's what Def Leppard was with that saturation. And this is the tone that you get. I've made a few presets that you can download in the links in the description, and they'll also be on the Bus Tone Exchange. But there's ones that I've matched wearing my headphones that just sound good for recording. And there's also some that I've said with a live on the end, and they're actually matching that I've done through the Mesorecto as well as the EVH 5150 cab. And I've tuned it to how they sound to my ears in the room, just to give a little bit more full in areas and just how they translate through the speakers. But this is the basic distortion tone. And that's a fairly saturated variant that I found works for that song. But there's other presets there that are just a little bit cleaner that I've just backed off a little bit more with that distortion in the front. Just for that pour some sugar on me riff. I thought that Steve Clark and Phil Collen were just such an excellent duo. They just complemented each other's playing so well. They had the ability to just shred and show off, but the songs were more important, and I think they just captured it so well. It's just an iconic album, and it's one of my favourites to this day. The whole Hysteria album, it was just so well done. The songs are just brilliant, but Anyway, moving on just to the clean channel now. It's fairly identical to the way that I set up for the distortion. There's a little few parameters that are tweaked here and there, but essentially it's the same core of the tone. And I've just got rid of that rat pedal off the top and we're using the clean variation. I think with the red variation on top, but this is the clean and I'll just mix it with Love Bites. So that tone, I think that's pretty close. It's good enough that I can relive those nostalgic moments without going out and spending ridiculous amounts of money for those X100 units, because that's what they are these days. It's absurd how much they're going for, and the fact that you can't even run them into the front of an amp like a normal pedal. They've actually got an outputted audio that you've got to run through your audio interface, so what you see is what you get, and half of them don't even work anymore. So that's about as good as I can get with the Boss Katana for that whole tone. If anyone can do it better, please just share it around, share the love. It's what we do here. And so until next time, all the presets are in the description. They're on the Tone Exchange. Have fun, enjoy it, be nostalgic, check it out. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye.